Welcome to Dodgers Daily. I'm Casey Porter. I'm so glad that you decided to tune in. We have a great show for you today. Today starts our countdown of the MLB Pipeline top 30 prospects. We are going to have a feature for each one of the 30 prospects. The first one today is on the Dodgers' number one prospect, catcher Diego Cartaya. I'm sure you've heard of him. He is a fantastic young player. We're going to talk all about him. We are going to highlight him, and we are going to feature him, and we are going to have a good time doing it. But hey, before we get started, if you like this video and if you like this kind of content, go ahead and click that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily, and go ahead and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, go ahead and click that notification button, turn on your notifications, so each time we drop a new video, you'll be notified, and Dodgers Daily will keep growing, and we can keep providing you content like this in the future. Okay, Diego Cartaya, the Dodgers' number one prospect, the catcher. We're going to talk all about him, so let's not waste any more time, and let's talk Dodgers baseball. Okay, so the first thing that I think that you need to know about Diego Cartaya is, we know of all of the, obviously, if you're the number one prospect in one of the best organizations of any sport, the Los Angeles Dodgers, you know that he is extremely, extremely talented. You saw the power on that home run, on that swing. But the one thing that I really wanted you to understand about Diego that I think separates him from a lot of other top prospects is the fact that all of his off-the-field antics, all of the things that he does in preparation, his daily work process, those aspects of his game are equally as elite as his talent. If you don't believe me, that's fine. Go ahead and believe the people that have worked with him. I had a chance to talk to Duran Olinger, the pitching coach, one of the pitching coaches for Rancho last year. Duran actually just got a promotion. There's a good look at Diego. But he talked about Diego and getting to work with him. Of course, Duran being a pitching coach, the catchers are the only ones that actually get to cross over between working with the position players and the pitchers. So Duran worked very closely with Diego Cartaya in game planning and trying to put together game plans for different pitchers at Rancho and game calling with the catchers with Diego, also Dalton Rushing as well. So I wanted you to hear, first of all, about all the off-the-field work process habits of Diego Cartaya, straight from one of the coaches in the Dodgers system, former Rancho pitching coach Duran Olinger.
Special talents. I think that's probably the best way you can put it, but not only that, but like great dudes on and off the field. They both push themselves on the game planning side. So for me, both of them being on the catching side, I got to deal with them a lot. And we really pushed the game planning side for Diego and Dalton both. And they both had different perspectives, very different backgrounds. But both of them, man, they came prepared for the opposing lineup. They knew our pitchers. They wanted to catch all the bullpens, making sure that they knew what arsenal they had, how would they rank their arsenal, how can it play in different counts. And then on top of that, we would have them do a lot of digging on the opposing lineup. And they started knowing those hitters better than I think the hitters knew themselves. So it was really cool to hear them like just lead the meetings. And I think that both of them are obviously incredibly talented and have a chance to play baseball for a very long time at an extremely high level, which is very exciting for Dodger fans in general. But like their leadership skills are really what set them apart. They got all the pitching staff behind them and they got all the positional side behind them. So it's a pretty cool spot for them to be in because that catching side is really the only side that mingles with both. And the way that they handled the extra work that they had to do on the pitching side and on the hitting side and how they balance themselves speaks volumes to who they are as a person and who they are as a player.
So here's a really good look at Diego Cartaya, and one of the big comps to him has been Salvador Perez and being 6'3", 219 pounds at 21 years old. That's a good comparison, and look how agile he is. A good throw to Austin Gauthier at second base. His arm strength is definitely very good. Now, he only threw out around 19% of the runners last year. Here's another throw down to second base. That one, I believe, is to Yorbit Vivas. A very good throw. So he does have good arm strength. Do not even pay attention to the 19% as far as throwing runners out because, as you'll see in this video, and the Dodgers will simply tell you, that's Kendall Williams on the bump right there throwing it and they're pitching it. And then Diego Cartaya, I believe that's Sarin Sarah Lau that played with the Loons there for a while. But okay, so the point is, there's Ben Harris back when he was pitching with Rancho. Ben Harris was absolutely fantastic, one of the best pitchers in the entire organization for a long period of time. But I'm getting sidetracked. Back to Diego Cartaya. Don't pay attention to the 19% because the Dodgers, just talk to some of the people in the organization. They do not put an emphasis on holding on runners. So they're more worried about getting the hitters out. So it is very difficult to look at that power from Diego Cartaya as he turned around that breaking ball. But so as a catcher, if you look at all the Dodgers in the system, none of them are going to throw out a very high rate. There's another breaking pitch, a little slider that he slapped into left field because the runners are going to get such good jumps because the pitchers in the Dodgers organization just aren't worried about holding on runners unless you're John Rooney and or Lyle Lockhart Jr., the lefties that set the world on fire on, boy, look at that, straight up the middle. We're going to get into some of his pull percentages here in a minute. But so the 19%, I wanted to make sure and address that. Not a concern just from the simple. That does not mean that he doesn't have good arm strength because he does have very good arm strength. He can throw the ball very well. It's just the fact that the Dodgers don't hold on runners and don't put a big emphasis on that. So, okay, 2023, he had 251, 13 home runs. His OPS was 856. He did struggle a touch down the stretch. There is nothing to be concerned about that because if you look at what happened to him in 2021, he played a little bit over 30 games. In 2020, obviously that entire minor league season got canceled. So he had only played in, a little over 30 games in 2 years. Then all of a sudden he's playing almost 100 last year in 2022. Boy, look at that. He turned around that breaking pitch. Look how he stayed behind that ball and the massive amount of power that he put behind that swing. So as 2022 went on, I'm sure he got tired. I'm sure he wore down just a touch. But again, 251, 13 homers, OPS 856. Now here's some kind of, there's a good look at Cartaya. Look how he turned around that high fastball. Some kind of geeky type statistics. His isolated power numbers, his ISO were 225 and his K percentage was 26.6, which for a power hitter, the K percentages tend to get up there. We've talked about this with guys like James Outman and Chris Taylor that strike out some. But okay, so what's the good trade-off between power and striking out? Well, I like to look at the ISO numbers and then compare that to the strikeout numbers. Now, while he was at Rancho in single A baseball, his ISO is 290 and his K percentage was 27%. So his ISO was actually above his strikeout percentage. That is a positive trade-off when you're talking about power versus striking out. Boy, look at that power to dead center field. He has a lot of power. Didn't see, he doesn't hit the ball a lot to the opposite field, but he does have a lot of power to dead center field. We'll get into some of those numbers here in a minute. Now, when he moved up to Great Lakes, keep in mind, that was towards the end of the season. Here's another one. Boy, just massive amount of power. He turned on that ball, and really he stayed centered on that. He happened to pull it because he was a touch early, but it wasn't because he was trying to pull. Okay, again, remember at Great Lakes towards the end of the season, he was wearing down just a touch. He hadn't caught that many games, a little over 30 games in 2 years, almost 100 this past season. Okay, so his ISO is 225. His K percentage was 26.6. So his ISO is lower than his K percentage. So he would be the first one to tell you. You'd probably like to even those numbers out to, hey, what's the good mix between power and striking out? He had it at Rancho. He was close at Great Lakes, although he was wearing down a touch. I think you could probably attribute some of the strikeouts to that going down the stretch. So I think the trade-off, obviously, between those two has been good so far in Diego Cartaya's career. He hits 45% of all of his hits are fly balls, which for him is going to be a good thing because his home run to fly ball rate is 16.9%. That is considered in the great category. So he hits a lot of fly balls, and then his home run to fly ball rate for a professional hitter is in the great category. Look at that quick release, the good throw to second base, just a fantastic throw to second. Another good look at Diego Cartaya. So anybody who is worried about his throwing arm at all, you haven't seen enough of him, you don't understand how the Dodgers pitchers work and look at the agileness, there he's able to pick that, get up and throw the ball. Very good there. Okay, so the home run to fly ball rate is very good. As a matter of fact, it's in the great category. Okay, so pull percentage. He pulls the ball quite a bit, 50%, over 50%. As a matter of fact, 50.6%. That's probably going to have to come down a little bit, and if it does, I think his strikeout percentages would get around the 26% range, which is 27 with Great Lakes last year. But I think if his pull percentages, say, got down to 40 to 43%, I think his strikeout rate would go down to 22, 23, 24%. And then his ISO numbers, his individual, his independent strength numbers, his power numbers, I think would stay the same. And then his ISO would be above his strikeout rate. And so I think, that 50.6 pull percentage, I think that needs to come down to 40, 42, 43%, somewhere in that range. I think you'll see a direct correlation of strikeout percentage go down as well. He hits the ball up the middle. We've seen a couple of those almost 30% of the time, which is good. He uses the big, right there, because the big part of the field, that's more to left field, but you can see he stayed centered with it just a touch early on it. That's good because when you're using the middle of the field, that's the big part of the field. That's where most of the base hits and doubles are at. So I think Cartaya, because he uses the middle of the field, there you see one, kind of got jammed, hit it over the center field's head. That's going to allow him to have a higher average. That's going to allow him to hit some more doubles. And then the pull percentage is going to allow him to continue to hit home runs. His energy is absolutely fantastic. He hits the ball to the opposite field about 20% of the time. So not that often. Of course, I couldn't, hitting the ball to the opposite field, if I ever tried to do that, it felt like I was forcing it over there. So the biggest thing to me is use the big part of the field. You do that when you're using the middle part of the field, and then pull the ball for your home run power. There you go. There you see him hit the ball at the middle of the field right there. That's what I'm saying. By being able to use that big part of the field, I think that's going to be where his base hits are at. That's where his doubles are going to be at. And so that's a big part of it for him. He's able to use the middle of the field and pull the ball very well, just like that. Okay, his WRC plus is 138, which is a whole bunch of geeky formulations to just kind of talk about, hey, let's take into account the stadiums that he plays at, all the different factors, and let's try to put a standard that can compare different players, not just based on where they play, but try to even out all the different factors, and let's put a metric together to see how they all rate against each other. That's pretty much what WRC plus is. His WRC plus is 138. That is in the top of the above average category and close to great. So he's close to great whenever he's averaged in all the different factors against all the other players in the league. His home run to fly ball rate is in the great category. His ISO and strikeout percentages, his ISO was above his strikeout percentage at Rancho. It was close at Great Lakes. So Diego Cartaya, again, 251 in 2023, 13 home runs, OPS 856, just a wonderful young prospect. Very good arm. You've seen that a couple of times. Great size. And again, as you heard from Duran Olinger earlier, just a wonderful work process. He's one of the hardest workers, one of the greatest teammates, one of the best teammates that you'll ever have. He's one of the hardest workers, and whenever you're one of your best and most talented players and your leader is your best teammate and hardest worker, we all know that makes for a really, really good team. So there you have it. There is my breakdown of Diego Cartaya. So there you go. There's my prospect feature on the Dodgers' #1 prospect, Diego Cartaya. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope now that you know a little bit more about him, and now you know why the Dodgers are so high on this young catching prospect in the Dodgers organization. Hey fans, if you like this video, just another reminder, go ahead and click that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily, and subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. Not only subscribe, but also turn on the notifications. Click that notification bell. That way, every time Dodgers Daily releases a new video, you'll be notified, and Dodgers Daily will keep growing, and we can keep providing you content like this in the future. As always, thanks for tuning in to this MLB Pipeline Top 30s prospect, the first one that we did in this series on the Dodgers' #1 prospect, Diego Cartaya. And always, go Dodgers.